Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to our Nash County Commissioners meeting for October the 7th. And it is customary for us to begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and a prayer by a commissioner. And during the prayer, you're welcome to stand and join us in the prayer, or you're welcome to use this time to have your own prayer, or you're welcome to use it for a moment of silence, whichever you choose. And I'd like to, at this time, call on Mr. Fred Belfield for our invocation. Fred?
Let us pray. Our Father in heaven, we just thank you for this beautiful day, a day that we had not seen before, a day we know we have many challenges. And Father, we ask for your guidance. We ask for wisdom and knowledge. Where there's hate, Father, we pray for love. And we know with love, we can all get together, even if we have different opinions. We pray that the decisions that we make today will be pleasing in our sight. Continue to bless us as we go through this regular commissioners meeting on our agenda. This blessing we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Would you join us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You'll push.
Commissioners, we have one item that was put on our desk this morning that would need to be an agenda addition, and it concerns economic development and a presentation by Susan Phelps, something that came up on Friday afternoon all of a sudden, and something we need to consider and possibly take action on this morning. I'd like to get permission from the commissioners to add an item 13A, which will be economic development. Is there any opposition to adding that item?
No.
Seeing none, we'll add 13A on our agenda as economic development. I thank you for that. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. We have two sets from September the 9th and from September the 23rd. At this time, I'd entertain a motion for any changes to either one of them, any additions, or if you're satisfied with them, a motion to approve.
move for approval.
Have a motion to approve?
Second.
Minutes. I didn't get on mine.
You need something, Mr. Belfield?
No, I was just asking him, did he have the minutes on his iPad? For some reason, I didn't.
Do you need a moment to look over? You okay?
No.
You know how good our clerk is.
I have confidence in the recorder of the minutes.
Okay, all right. I have a motion by Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Richardson. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Minutes stand approved. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now on item number 5 on our agenda. Item number 5 is a area where any citizen from the county or outside the county, if it may be, can come to the Board of Commissioners and speak to us about any item that you wish to speak on. We would ask you to look at the agenda, and if it's what you have on your mind is covered on the agenda, we'd ask for you to wait till that item comes up. But if there's something else you have on your mind, this is the time to do it. There was a sign-up period out front before the meeting began, and we had asked that you sign up, but if you happen to not understand that you needed to sign up, we'll let the ones that signed up speak first, and then if it's someone else, we would certainly try to accommodate you. I had one person to sign up this morning, great friend, former commissioner, Mr. Danny Tyson. Mr. Tyson, please come forward, sir. Glad to see you this morning.
Morning.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Lamb, Mr. Durham, Ms. Evans, it's good to see y'all this morning, good to be here. I'm going to speak on a topic that you're probably all very familiar with. I'm going to talk a little bit about the jail. I watched it on the news, I've read the articles in the paper, and took the sheriff up on his invitation to go take a tour of the jail. I don't know if, I know the chairman's been, I don't know if any of the rest of you have been, but sort of an eye-opening experience to walk through there if you've never been through there. I do not like tight places myself, and I can tell you what, that is a pretty tight place to keep the number of people we got there. The current jail will hold 277 people, which I'm pretty sure you are aware of, and it probably maintains usually between 230 to 240 people on an ongoing basis from what I've been able to find. I did not go through the ladies' side of the dorms. I did go in the men's side, and I'm going to tell you, I was not impressed. I know when you go to jail that you are not supposed to be comfortable. You're not supposed to be thinking about being made comfortable, but you are supposed to be made to feel safe. I did not feel safe. There are a dorm where it holds 20. There are a couple of dorms that hold 40. There are maybe one or two that hold 18 to 20. And there are 4, what I would say are isolated type places where maybe you could put somebody that might have a mental problem or someone who might be a little bit disruptive. But other than that, if I was to be brought in on some misdemeanor or some DWI or something, which I hope never happens, I would either probably be put in a dorm with 20 or 40 people who are anywhere from attempted murder, drugs, gangs, whatever. So the possibility of me making it through the night with not getting some kind of bruise or banged up or intimidated is going to be probably 0. So I think that's something we need to look at. The isolated dorms that I went and looked at, one was out of service because of repairs. One had a person in it that was in there because they'd been throwing water on the people who were trying to take care of them. And the other one had 2 people sleeping on the floor. Now, I know these people are not what we consider Class A citizens, but they are citizens, and they need to be taken care of. So when I called the sheriff and asked him, could I come look, he put me in touch with Major Brake, and I was very appreciative of Major Brake taking me through. I felt safe with Major Brake because he stayed between me and wherever we were going, so I felt safe. But I'm going to tell you, I've been called a lot of things, but I was called some things down there that I had never been called before. So, you know, like I say, it can be intimidating when you go in there. Now, I also asked if they could tell me how many people had been injured in there and had been taken to the emergency room. So far this year, from what they've got, there's 24 people. Out of those 24 people, they have been billed for over $73,591.95. There's 10 or 11 more outstanding bills that they did not have record of. So their taxpayer dollars paying for injuries that could have been prevented if we'd had somewhere to lock up some people who didn't need to be put in the general population. So there's some things we need to look at in the jail. I know y'all have got a committee. I know you're doing great things on trying to correct the problem. But if I can anyway urge you to look at it a little bit more seriously and to step up the pace, then that's what I'm here for. We have issues there that need to be addressed, and they don't need to be put off for a year or 2 years. I understand currently there are 55 cameras there, and there are also no cameras in the open dorms. And I know you're going to address that so that you can see what's going on in there. I also understand that a deputy was injured going into those cells trying to take someone out who wanted to run away. Now, you stop and think about it. You have 8 to 10 attendants or deputies in there taking care of all these inmates. If a fight breaks out, 8 or 10 cannot take care of these people. So, you know, all I'm asking is let's take a big look. Let's do what we can to make this a better place. Like I say, they're not in there to be comfortable, and I don't expect you to make them comfortable. But we do need to make sure that we have enough spaces for someone that comes in that doesn't need to be put in this general population where they can go and be safe and get out the next day. I wouldn't want my son nor your sons to have to be put in that predicament. And and another thing, completely different from this, I had a friend come to me the other day that had a person who needed to go see the clerk of court. They thought they could get in the old courthouse. They couldn't. They had to go around a different way. They said, please ask them if there's any way you could address so that someone who might have a handicap problem could get to see the clerk of court without having to go all the way around if they happen to park in a parking lot on the other side. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Tyson. Good to see you. Was there anyone else that wished to speak that didn't sign up at this time? Seeing no one coming forward, I'll close item number 5. And it's customary for us to not address a comment that came up during a public comment session, but I feel compelled this morning to say just a very few things, if I may, in the bylaws of the county allow the chairman to do that if he wishes, or to call on any other commissioner if he wishes. But to the public, I'd just like to tell you this board has taken the jail situation extremely serious. We work on it every day. We do have a committee that works on it. We meet with the sheriff about every 10 to 14 days. I've been doing that since June. We indeed have a jail that had some needs, but I can assure you they are not near as bad as what the public has been led to believe. I'm a builder myself. I've been in the jail many times. I struggled going to the jail simply because I have a son that has spent many hours in the jail there, as well as many other jails in eastern North Carolina, and quite frankly, serving a pretty long sentence in a federal prison at the current time. So I'm very sensitive to jail, the people in the jail. You can't be any more sensitive than what I am, and quite frankly, all the members of this board. But up until about October last year, we had never had a bad jail inspection. We get inspected twice a year by the state. They do a very thorough inspection. Those inspections have always come back in real good shape. Certainly we had some needs, and the needs we had each time they inspected, we were able to correct it many times before they left, sometimes within a week or two, but we had to report back to them. And last October, we had some things that started, and then we've had a couple of breakouts. We admit that. I can assure you that problem has been resolved. The fencing or the enclosed fenced area has been corrected. The commissioners in this year's budget allowed an additional $500,000 to do jail repairs as they come up. And believe me, we're spending that money real quick. We've got a team on it. Our maintenance people and our facilities director, Mr. Boone, has done a fantastic job. It is a very difficult thing, quite frankly, to work through because all members have not been team players on this. And I'm not here this morning to point fingers and will not point fingers, but I just want you to understand that this commissioner board up here, as well as our administration, take this problem very serious. We do not think we need a new jail. We don't think it would be money well spent. We agree that we need some containment areas, and we have a consultant. We're interviewing and looking at consultants to help us work through that part of it. But a jail has two parts. You've got to maintain the jail through operations, and then you've got a facility issue. The inspections that we get, and one very thorough one, which I went on myself and stayed all day, we had 4 people from the state, came back with a very multiple list of items. In those items, I can assure you that by far the majority of them were operational problems, not facility problems. And I know the sheriff's department's working on that. We've had a shortage of employees. We have encouraged them to start a class on out at Nash Community College like we did with our 911 people, and I think that's underway. I certainly hope it is. The camera contract has indeed been let, but again, security falls under the sheriff, not under this board of commissioners, but certainly we have to allot funds, and we have done that. But I'm not going to go through the whole list of what we're working on, but I mainly want to tell the public this morning that this board takes it very seriously. I take it very seriously as chairman. Our manager takes it very seriously. And so I hope you'll believe what we're telling you today, that we're working on it every day, and it will get better, and it will get better in the existing facility. And with that said, I need to move on for the agenda because I have Promise.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman.
could I just make one comment? It's not related to necessarily to what Mr. Tyson said, but I'd like the record to reflect that this board, myself personally, have toured the jail. So I keep hearing people saying that the chairman's been into the jail, but they never mentioned the other members of this board that have toured that jail.
I have to.
So we're all aware of the jail situation.
Thank you, Mr. Outlaw. Mr. Bellfield?
Oh, I just want, since we're talking about the jail, I was watching a program. I didn't get a chance. I had to go out of town and didn't get a chance to see the entire program. But one thing that I believe this was in the state of Pennsylvania, where those that are in jail that's got to spend 60 days or more, they have a culinary situation there where they're teaching them, they're preparing their own food. And they were interviewing, this commentator was interviewing a lot of them, how proud they were that they were learning a skill, and they showed some of those that have gotten out and they are working in preparing food. And so that's another idea that can cut down, I believe, on some of the violence that you may have in the jail, giving them something to do other than just sitting there locked up. And that's one example.
Thank you, Mr. Bellfield. Do any other commissioner wish to speak? If not, I'm going to move on to item number 6, which is a tiny house presentation. And I'll call on Ms. Michelle McKnight to make this presentation. And good morning, ladies.
Good morning. Great follow-up. Well, we're talking about a different kind of housing this morning,
Great.
a voluntary type. So I want to introduce who I have with me today. This is Mary Marlin. She is a director at the Upper Coastal Plain Council of Government Area Agency on Aging. You want to see that on the name tag. It's quite long, trust me. But we just want to take just a couple minutes and tell you all about an initiative that's going on in our region to combat the problem of homelessness among seniors. Okay. So Compass is the name of the organization. Compass is a nonprofit, and it is a center on maintaining preferred agency services and solutions. The purpose is to raise awareness among our community, among leaders, about the needs of families, senior adults, caregivers, and individuals with disabilities who reside in North Carolina. Compass board members all are representatives of a 5-county area to include Edgecombe, Halifax, Nash, Northampton, and Wilson counties. I am also a board member on that committee. I'm the vice chair, and it's been a pleasure to serve and really find solutions for the problems that we are being made aware of. Members of the committee are all retired or current professionals who currently serve senior citizens. So the problem of homelessness in older adults that we've been made aware of is that there's a barrier for people who fall in the age group of 50 to 62. The barriers that we're seeing is they have a lack of sufficient resources, a lack of supportive services, and there is a high growing rate of homelessness for several reasons. Studies across the U.S. have shown a clear upward trend of homelessness in this population, and the biggest reason is that the folks in this group kind of fall between the cracks. They're not old enough to qualify for senior housing or Social Security or Medicare. They're kind of in that gap phase where they're not old, they're too young, they're not old enough, but they're too old. So we want to be able to do something about that. And HUD projected that homelessness among seniors will increase by 33% by the year 2020. Just some municipalities and businesses that we've been involved with so far include the cities and towns of Rocky Mount, Sharpsburg, Wilson, Garysburg, Scotland Neck, Enfield, and Princeville. We've developed partnerships with BB&T, AARP, and the Habitat for Humanity. So I'm going to let Mary tell you about one solution that we came up with as a board to address specifically homelessness among seniors.
So as a board, we've thought about tiny housing as a viable solution for senior homelessness. And we're not talking home and gardens TV, $100,000, $150,000 homes. We're talking about nice tiny homes that are affordable, probably between the $30,000 and $50,000 range per home. So why tiny homes? They're a cost-effective alternative to traditional housing. There's an opportunity to build in the community support and wraparound services in these communities, and it's less stigma than the traditional group or institutional style alternatives. And we can serve many different populations, veterans, women, and these populations have been served across the U.S. So that's just one picture of what a tiny home community might look like. So we're getting started with Compass in Wilson at 906 Jordan Street. We were gifted a piece of property by St. Timothy's, and we're excited to say that we're beginning work with an engineering group who is starting the surveying. This is our very rough sketch of what we might do on this piece of property. It's a very small piece of property, but we're hoping to be able to get the parking lot with enough spaces and one handicap space and potentially 3 or 4 tiny homes on this tiny lot, actually. We'll have a more sophisticated drawing soon, but we've just been able to get that contract started. So just another example of what a tiny home might look like, what the inside of one might look like. And our desire is to work within each of our, at Upper Coastal Plain, we cover 5 counties. So we want to work within each of our 5 counties and then spread, because the goal is to house seniors who fall in this gap that don't have any support, or don't have adequate supports. So we're always seeking new opportunities to partner and collaborate.
Questions?
Any questions from board members?
The location that you're talking about, what would be the capacity as far as number of tiny homes that you could put on it?
We're looking at 3 to 4, and the city seemed to think that that would accommodate 3 to 4 tiny homes.
And what is your population that you're looking to serve?
Generally between the ages of 50.
No, I mean number.
Oh, how many people?
Yeah,
are we-
you're talking 3 to 4 homes. How many total people do you think?
Well, these homes would not be for purchase by the individuals. They would be used as transitional housing. So it depends on how long it takes us to get that person the hand up that they need to be able to get to permanent housing.
And each unit houses one person.
Okay, you would put one person in each unit,
Yes.
and they would stay there for what period of time?
It could, if someone came in at 50 and we're trying to work with them and give them wraparound services, there's a potential that they could be there for a number of years. So the shorter the time, the better, but we really don't have a cap for how long they would be allowed to stay.
Well, that's kind of back to my point. What's the population that you're looking at, you feel like you've got to serve? I know there's a lot of homeless people out there.
Right.
So if you got capacity for 4, then what's your plan for the 40, or the 50, or the 60, or the 100?
To be honest, one at a time. And we really don't know, how far we're going to get with this. We're starting with the idea that if we can help that one person and grow from there, that we've made a difference.
So you're looking at multiple locations.
Yes.
Have you ever thought about the old Fountain Correctional Center as a possibility for renovation and to house a lot of these folks that otherwise have no housing?
May I interject? The focus and the purpose of a tiny house model, as opposed to a more institutional setting, is the idea that people who have their own space and their own home tend to feel safer. They have more pride in themselves. A lot of times, homeless people suffer with a lot of loss. Losing homes, a lot of these people had careers, they had jobs, and life happened. So the idea that you could have your own space that is yours, that you could take pride in and start to build, regain your sense of self-worth, regain your sense of self-esteem, and know that you have a place that is just yours while you work on becoming self-sufficient. It's just one model. Yeah. There are several models to addressing homelessness. This is just one.
Yeah.
And this property at Jordan Street is kind of our pilot project. It's going to be a small, I'm actually glad that it's small because we can see what's going to work and what's not going to work. And this is a model that we hope to duplicate in several areas throughout the counties.
Well, you've actually got individual homes at Fountain.
Okay.
I didn't know if you knew that, but
No.
I go by there pretty frequently, and quite often I ask myself, we've moved all those people away from there, all that space is falling down, and then you go into the city and you see people sitting on every corner, and there's a place that if we were really creative and looking to do something to address that population, that might be a possibility. I don't know what your plans are to transition or rehab these people back into the mainstream of society, but I would hope it wouldn't take 2 or 3 years. Then you might want to look at a different model, but just think about that. That's a possibility.
We certainly
And I
will.
mean, you talk about people having their own space. You go anywhere in this town and you've got numerous assisted living homes, and these senior citizens seem to be faring fairly well in that environment. So I think some space is better than the street. That's just me.
Okay. Well, we have a board meeting on Friday, so we'll be sure to share those comments with the board.
There are 2 or 3 homes out there, I know,
Okay, thank you.
just falling down.
Any other comments from commissioners or questions? Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all being here this morning. Interesting project. We have seen in the county recently where we made a hotel out of tiny homes. I sure don't see why this wouldn't work for sure. Next item on the agenda, and I understand there's no action to be taken on this item.
Correct.
Correct,
No,
okay.
it says no action.
Right. Item number 7 is a general rezoning request to rezone 25 acres at 3645 Stony Hill Church Road from R40 Single Family Residential to RA20 Medium Density. And I would say that month before, or the first of last month, actually month before last, we had a public hearing on this item. So for the board's benefit, we'll be getting the presentation this morning. There will not be another public hearing, and then we'll just move forward with the pleasures of the board. Mr. Tyson?
This is, as the chairman just stated, the public hearing on this item was held back on July 8th. It was held and closed by the board. At the conclusion of that hearing, the board voted to table consideration of this request until today's regular meeting in order to review the related recommendations of both our land development plan and our unified development ordinance. Of course, the board will recall holding a planning work session on August 19th, and you adopted several amendments to both documents back on September 23rd that were a result of that work session. Of course, the subject property is shown on the screen right here, outlined in red. It is a 25-acre tract of land owned by L&F Farms and located northeast of the town of Bailey on the south side of Stony Hill Church Road between Juniper Road to the west and Chapman Road to the east. If you look to the right-hand side, this is a copy of the zoning map. And of course, it is currently zoned R40 in a very solidly large R40 zoning district. It's primarily used for agricultural production right now, with the exception of an existing dwelling, which is located basically in the center of the property right there. The property is adjacent to other agricultural farmlands as well as a few existing residential dwellings in the surrounding area. It has access to Nash County Public Water Service via an existing 4-inch water line along Stony Hill Church Road, and there is no public sewer service currently available or proposed. This general rezoning request was submitted by the property owner to rezone the subject property from R40 to RA20. The current prospective developer of the subject property is the C.T. Williams Corporation, as represented by Mr. Cecil T. Williams, Jr. Of course, approval of the request would make 2 major changes. The first would be to reduce the minimum lot size required for subdivision from the current 40,000 square feet by half down to just 20,000 square feet per lot, allowing for higher density residential development. And then the other major change would be that the new proposed zoning district is much more restrictive in terms of permitted land uses than the current zoning district. So if it were rezoned as proposed, there are about 9 land uses, which are highlighted in yellow on this excerpt from the permitted use table, that are currently allowed but would no longer be allowed. Those include double-wide manufactured homes, rural family occupations, radio or communication towers exceeding 60 feet in height, solar farms, non-hazardous solid waste disposal or collection sites, utility field offices, water treatment plants, horse shows, and turkey shoots. Those are all things that are permitted under the current R40 zoning district under some circumstance or another that would no longer be permitted if the rezoning is adopted as proposed. One significant change between my presentation today and the presentation you heard back in July is that as a result of the text amendments you adopted back on September 23rd, if the property were rezoned as requested, it would no longer be eligible for the use of the cluster development subdivision option. And that is because of the amendment you adopted to disallow clustering of residential subdivision lots to sizes less than 20,000 square feet. You can still cluster down to 20,000, but not go beyond. And so if the property were rezoned as requested, the developer would not have the option to cluster to 10,000 square foot lots. Each lot would have to meet that minimum 20,000 square foot size requirement. In very general terms, the tax department has estimated before that the proposed rezoning could result in up to an approximately 50% increase in the taxable value of the land. And that's based on a determination that a 20,000 square foot lot would be appraised at approximately 3/4 of the value of a 40,000 square foot lot, which is of course the density allowed right now. Anytime we look at a rezoning, the 2 main tools we use to evaluate it are our land development plan and then the concept of spot zoning. Of course, the land development plan explicitly supports the rezoning of property located within the suburban growth area to either RA30 or RA20 zoning districts where public water service is available and where the soil conditions will accommodate the installation of on-site septic systems. We've already discussed that public water service is available, and Nash County Public Utilities has determined that the existing system has sufficient capacity to accommodate the residential development of the property at the proposed density. The soil conditions also, we had a soil survey map or a soil map that we looked at last time over here on the right-hand side of the screen, showing that most of the soil on the property was sandy, well-drained, and should be suitable for installation of septic systems. In the meantime, since the last time we considered it, the other piece of new information we have access to is a soil scientist report. This diagram is a little light to see on the screen, but basically it divides the property between areas that are going to be suitable for septic systems and areas that are unsuitable. The only areas that are noted to be unsuitable are a narrow band or along an existing ditch here in the southeastern quadrant of the property. Then there is another strip that follows the power line that is located on the property. There are no issues with the soil underneath the power line, but the power company prohibits septic systems in that area. And so it's possible that that power line prior to the development could be relocated out to be closer to the road right-of-way, freeing up some more area here. And then there's a small area that's unsuitable here just because of its proximity around a water supply well that could be abandoned if we needed to open up that area. So the area that is of concern for soil is really just this narrow strip that's along the ditch. The soil scientist report was prepared by Daniel J. Bliley, and he estimates that it will take approximately 10,000 square feet to accommodate a septic system and its related repair area. So if the property is rezoned to RA20 and you have 20,000 square foot lots, that means the septic and repair area would take roughly half of the lot, leaving the other half open for the development of houses, driveways, outbuildings, et cetera. Of course, the higher density residential development permitted by the new zoning district will help accommodate the residential growth that's anticipated by the plan for the suburban growth area. And as we've already mentioned, the zoning district is more restrictive in terms of permitted uses. You'll note that this is the rare occasion where the board has more than just 2 options. The land development plan recommends rezoning to either RA30, which are 30,000 square foot lots, or RA20 for 20,000 square foot lots, leaving the choice between them to your discretion as the governing board. A rezoning to either district would be equally consistent with the recommendations of the plan. It's also noted that the land development plan is an advisory document, and state law does not require that all zoning actions must always be consistent with the recommendations of the plan. Therefore, you may also deny the rezoning request and leave the property zoned R40, provided that you adopt an explanation for your reasoning behind that decision. And we have prepared statements for both contingencies at the end of this report. The second thing we look at is spot zoning. If we can return to the zoning map, you'll notice that this would be a spot of RA20 that would be different from all the R40 that is around it. State law allows for the adoption of spot zones as long as the local government establishes that the request is reasonable and in the public interest. If the state law did not allow for that, then we would never be able to start a new zoning district. But it is important that the board address why it is creating a spot zone and why you find it to be reasonable. Some reasons that the staff has prepared: number one, the request is consistent with our land development plan, as we already discussed. It has access to public water and soil conditions favorable for on-site septic systems. The property, as well as all the adjacent surrounding property, already is and will continue to be zoned for residential use. Although the new zoning district will allow higher density, it is more restrictive in terms of permitted land uses, so there's kind of a trade-off in that sense. And the large size of the property demonstrates the intention is to establish a new district within which multiple residential lots may be subdivided rather than to create a single isolated spot zone that might include just one property. The Technical Review Committee and Planning Board have not re-reviewed the request since the last time we were here for the public hearing, but just as a reminder, the TRC considered it back in May and recommended approval. The Planning Board considered it in June and voted unanimously to recommend approval of Consistency Statement A, which is in support of approval, and also then just approval of the request to rezone the property to RA20 as requested by the applicant. This is a two-motion process. The board will need to adopt a consistency statement either in preparation for approval or denial, and you have consistency statement A and B available in your packet. And then the second motion will be to actually choose the outcome of the case. And again, you have three options. You can approve the rezoning at the RA20 density as requested by the applicant. You can approve the rezoning at the RA30 density, which would be a middle ground between what it currently is and what is being requested. Or finally, of course, you could deny the rezoning request, leaving the property zoned as it is at R40. As the chairman stated, we do not need to hold another public hearing, so we can transition to any board discussion and then a vote on the outcome of the item. And before we do that, I'll be glad to take any questions you may have on the staff report.
Questions from board members? I think you get a great presentation.
I did have a question. I know recently we made an amendment that the RA20 designation does not allow the cluster option. Does the RA30 allow that option down to RA20?
It does still allow it. If the property was rezoned to RA30, then the developer would have the option to cluster to 20. Remember, it doesn't result in more lots. It just results in the lots you create being closer together and reserving some common area. I don't know that would be, I would think if there was an area here that would be suitable for that, it would probably be focused along that ditch where we saw the area that's not good for septic systems. But to answer your question, it does remain an option if the property is zoned to a 30,000 square foot density.
Anything else?
On the track map that's up there on the left-hand side, there's two green dots inside the red border, the 3645 and 9750. Are those buildings there, are they actively being used, or are those just old buildings on the property?
Well, the dot in the center is a dwelling. I think that's a farmhouse. The dot to the right near the edge is the former location of a single-wide mobile home that has been removed from the property and is not there anymore. Is the house inhabited? No.
Other questions, Ms. Leggett?
That's all I have.
Okay. Any other commissioner have any questions at this time? I'd just like to say, if I could, I think we're at a pivotal point in Nash County's future development. We apparently, by having national home builders looking at the county now, are in an era where we've been anticipating for a long time, actually since I've been on the board, quite frankly, and it seems to be happening quite a bit in Rocky Mount, where there is sewer available, but yet happening in many places in the county. We, of course, studied this situation at our meeting where we looked at the land development code, and we made a few tweaks to that would allow future development to begin in different areas of the county other than just an A1 or an R40. We did that along the thought process that we have a lot of water lines in now. We're still putting a lot of water lines in. And in those areas, of course, the water system depends on customers. So where we have water, we can certainly look at things other than R40. This particular tract here is, of course, in a watershed that would prevent it from being any less than 20,000 square feet anyway. But having looked at all those things, it's this board's charge to decide how we want the county to move forward. And I've always been very sensitive, as I think all of us are, to whose district these are in. That's why we have it on our agenda, whose district it's in. And we kind of look towards that member to receive the most comments, and it would be the people that they are elected to represent. And so generally, the board has been very faithful in supporting that member in what they may see as best for their district. The districts are different in Nash County. Some districts are extremely rural, and some districts are a mix, and some districts, 2 districts are totally in our largest municipality. So the way this board feels is going to be different on each project that we look at from a rezoning standpoint. Being in the business of development, I pointed out to the board a little while back what development of residential would do for us moving forward at the pace we were currently at, which that particular month of August, I think we had 44 residential permits for new homes. I ran it through a formula, and it shows in a 5-year period at that rate, it would be about a $110 million investment, which we chase all the time, industries in that category. But at the end of the day, I think we need to be able to look at each one of these individuals. I'm glad that we are not considering keeping everything in Nash County R40 or R30 or R20. We need to have flexibility and look at each situation, what utilities are available, and really need guidance from that board member that has that particular area because they're closest to the people in that area. Fortunately, in this case, we have several options. We can move forward with it as it was requested in R20A, or we can approve it as an R30A, or of course, we can always leave it as it is. To leave it as it is, I think would show a reluctancy of Nash County to be willing to accept an accelerated pace for residential construction in the county, which I don't think would be a good thing, but we don't all have to agree. So I want to make sure the board understands we have an option here this morning. We can do R20, we can do R30, and the request of the applicant is to do R20. We all know that. And quite frankly, we generally try to move things along with this board. I think it's important not to hold our people up. We've been working on this one since May, so I hope we can move forward in some way this morning to move forward. But with that said, if there's no other questions or other comments, I'm going to entertain a motion for consistency statement. A or B. A would allow you to move to the next step to do it 20 or 30, or B would deny the request altogether and would make it remain R40. So this time, we entertain any motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Belfield?
I offer motion that we adopt consistently statement A.
Okay, have a motion to adopt consistency statement A. Mr. Leggett, any questions on, I need a second on the motion first.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Leggett has seconded that motion. Is there any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign, and that motion included, Mr. Belfield, all those items listed below it, I'm sure,
Yeah.
1 and 2. Okay, and now we need to move to the motion to approve or deny the rezoning, and we've got a little bit situation that's different from what we generally see. In the approval process, we have 2, A or B, and then, of course, the other one, which is to deny, is C. So I'd entertain a motion to approve item A or B or C at this time. A is RA20, B is RA30, and of course, C is to deny the rezoning request that we had just approved the consistency statement on.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, Ms. Leggett?
can we add the stipulation to exclude the cluster option should we choose the RA30 density?
I would refer to Mr. Tyson to answer that question.
We cannot.
I didn't think you could.
Because
it
this
was-
is not this is a general rezoning, so there's not the legal opportunity to add extra conditions that would be specific. We could always revisit the ordinance requirements for cluster requirements in the next review cycle, but we don't have the tools to do that today.
That would
sir.
make it a conditional use rezoning, and it hasn't been properly advertised for conditional use. On clustering, you know, we just went through the exercise, and this
Correct.
board decided to remove it from 20, but not remove it from 30 or 40. And really, the important part of that is you're not going to have any more homes, but it gives you some flexibility where we have either difficult shaped land or we got areas that may not hurt. It just gives you the flexibility. You'll be using the same amount of land, but it gives you the flexibility of utilizing the land in a little bit different way. And so that's why the clustering is still in our ordinance. And the planning board supported as you know, our chairman was at our meeting, excuse me, and the planning board supported removing it from 20, but they seem to want to keep it in 30 and 40. So, Ms. Leggett, it would require to be either A or B or C.
Sure, okay, thank you.
All right?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move to, for option B, approve rezoning at the RA30 density in an effort to maintain the rural nature of the area and also respect the wishes of the developer.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion to adopt B, and we have a second. Is there any questions on that motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well. And did I say everything I needed to say to get in the motion?
You did.
It looked pretty simple there, okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Tyson.
Thank you.
Excuse me just a minute.
It's R30.
I'm going to pause just a moment.
What? Yeah, well, that was a big deal when they had the hearing. They're probably happier. Because they didn't want anything.
Okay, we'll resume on item 8. We'll now move on to some little easier items to approve. Brent Fisher,
The big,
always like to see someone get married.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. So what I have in front of you is an approval for a fireworks display permit at Rose Hill Farm. The Nash County Fire Marshal's Office has received a permit application to conduct a fireworks display as part of an event on October 26, 2019, which is a wedding at Rose Hill Plantation located at 3815 Rose Hill Lane in Nashville. The operational permit requester is the contractor Jeff Hale of Hale Artificier. Incorporated of 545 New Bowers Road, Lexington, North Carolina. The permit application and accompanying documents are in order, and a copy of the insurance bond with Nash County as an additional insured is attached, and we do have a copy of that. North Carolina General Statute 14-410 requires the Board of Commissioners give approval prior to the fire marshal issuing the permit, and the Nash County Fire Marshal's Office recommends approval of the operational permit for Jeff Hale and Hale Artificier. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right, have any questions of Mr. Tyson on this request? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank
Good to see you. All right, we'll move now to item number 9, which is a Nash County farm lease agreement procedure, and I'll call on Sandy Hall to lead this presentation. Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning, everyone.
I'd like to say your daughter looked very nice at the Spring Hope Pumpkin Festival on Saturday.
Thank you very
Saw her
much.
several times.
Thank you very much. I'd like to, before I begin, say Happy National 4-H Week. We'll be celebrating 4-H this week and ending on Sunday. Hope you can join us for that event. We've extended an invitation for you. So as we begin today, as you're aware, Nash County owns several properties that are and can be used for farmland lease. Mary Waters, our field crops extension agent that's here with me today, we're both going to present to you the procedures that we've developed to follow for farmland lease to farmers. Today, we're asking that once we go through the documents that we have to present, you approve the procedures, agree to the list of properties for farm lease, and then for purposes of continued economic development as you wish, we would need your approval to place the sale signages at the properties. The first page is what was provided for us to follow. It has a brief, it's in your document there. It has a brief summary of the procedures, and then, but if you move to the procedures, it's a little more detailed that I thought we would go through today, and you should have that in your packet. Move to mine. So in your packet with the procedures, we have outlined that cooperative extension would lead in the effort of maintaining the management of the farm lease for you. Advertising, public bids, invoicing growers, and the term agreements. The term agreements come from the county attorney's office, in which we work with him to create. The open bid session, we are looking at moving it as previously done in prior situations. We'd like to move it to the first Monday in December, when it's a little more applicable for farmers to be looking at what they plan to lease and have in place for January. So in the first Monday in December, we would begin that advertisement of that land that is put up for farm lease, have 10 days. There's an example of what the lease would look like in the paper or mass media or through advertising through our communications with the farmers. So at 12 noon on the 10th business day of December, the public bid session would take place. We would take place at the county, Nash County Agriculture Center, with the highest bid being sent to the Board of Commissioners by the close of business the following Monday for your review. We would come before you to present that lease agreement and bid a resolution, and follow that, we would set up the lease agreement with the contract, working with our county attorney, and they would be required to have a certificate of insurance for that least $1 million general public liability insurance covering claims for personal injury, loss of life, and property damage. and the farmer will also be required to have workers' compensation insurance as required by North Carolina law. If you turn to the next page, an updated copy of the farm lease would be kept by the county manager, the county attorney, finance department, and our office. And then a final, once it's all signed off by a chairman, would be sent to the farmer. We are looking at a 2-year lease to operate on a 2-year contract. The first year, the payment would be due at the time of the lease agreement and the signature. And the second year, the grower would be invoiced on the first business day of December, payment deadline in 30 days. So at this time, I'm going to have Mariana come forward, and she's going to look at, with you, the farmland parcels that we are suggesting for rent. Oh, not the right button. There we go.
Okay, hello.
Good morning.
Morning. So up here on this board, on this screen is the shorter version, but I think you guys have the longer version in front of you as well. Just to go through like what each column says on this Excel spreadsheet, we've got the PAR ID, the GIS acreage, the acreage within the Farm Service Agency office, because sometimes that will vary from the GIS acreage, the location, the farm ID, who is currently renting it or who is the operator in the Farm Service Agency office, and then your term begin date and your term end date. And then on this longer Excel spreadsheet is an additional column that says if it is for sale, and if it is for sale, does it need signage out front? So moving down to what each one says below that, your very first row is the Highway 95, 97 tract of land, and that's the one that we placed up for bid most recently, like back in April or May. So that is being rented by Pack House, so we have an agreement on that. The second tract is the tract of land on Highway 48. Oh, excuse me, is the tract of land in Middlesex. We do have an agreement on that. That ends in December 2019. And then the tracts after that are all open, so that would be a conversation for you guys to decide if you want to create a new agreement for each of those. So the Highway 48 within the Farm Service Agency office is listed as John Taylor, but it's not actually being farmed by John Taylor. It's actually being farmed by Mr. Bozeman, so they probably just are rotating their land for the year. And then after that is the Miracle Park, and let's see. So phase one, I think total there's 46.5 acres of the Miracle Park. They used 28 acres, so there's about 18.5 acres left. So if you guys want to use that as a rental, that's available as well. And then there's 2 tracts at the Highway 97 airport location. One was purchased in 2008, and that's being farmed by Barnes Farming. Highway 97, the one purchased in 2019, is also Barnes Farming, but that agreement was not going to end until 2019. So the 4 after the Middlesex, so 48, Miracle Park, and then the 2 at 97 are the ones up for discussion. And then as well, if you guys want signage out there. So the long Excel spreadsheet that has signage out there, I did kind of put in there the 2 areas that I thought you guys might want signage, and then the Cooper's Miracle Park that is not for sale. So I did kind of fill that in for y'all, but the others would all be where you guys want signage and if it's for sale. Y'all have any questions?
Any questions from board members at this time?
I had a question, just a little clarification on the wording of the procedures. It says that the advertisement begins on the first Monday in December, and the bids will remain open and closed 10 business days following. And then it says that the commissioners will receive briefing. It's listed as the 10th business day of December, but that wouldn't be necessarily 10 days following the first Monday.
So you,
Is there kind of overlap right there?
okay. Got it. But it actually would come before you in the January,
Okay.
in the first county commissioners meeting in January.
Any other questions?
Don't you think that's a little bit late for somebody planning the coming year? I mean, I think the lease should be done and we approve the whole thing by the first Monday in December. To wait to January is a little bit
And that's
kicking it
where it
down
was.
the road
It was
for
in
fall
January.
preparations and stuff like that. I think we need to back it up. So they know in the first of December exactly what they do effective in January. I know it's not farming time, but they do a lot of preparations like liming and stuff like that that don't need to wait till the end of January to get it approved or middle.
Is there any thought, I mean, if this is what we're gonna do, Dan, when they open the bids in 10 days in December, they gonna know then they got it?
Well, 10 days in December's fine if they know they got it. I mean,
I
but
don't know any
I
reason
don't
why
know-
this board wouldn't approve it.
Well, okay, I mean,
But it doesn't matter, we can sure back it up and do it in December if it works, but,
we just make it official.
we make it
So I
official.
would
You make
just-
it official in January.
Right. I think we probably would be okay with that.
Okay, as long as they know by the 1st of December, I think that's good.
Okay. Any other thought?
We could always move this bidding process back to November.
We
and-
could.
And we've got the decision the 1st of January, our first meeting in December, excuse me.
We can do that.
But we're trying to make the lease calendar year, which is a good thing.
Well, it
Then
would
you would
become
leave-
Would be
effective the
calendar
1st of the year.
Yeah, can we do a lease subject to a future date? Okay,
I think that's a good idea.
whichever way, it's fine.
Well, everything should be completed by the first of the new year, which is January 1. And just like Commissioner Combs said, farmers
Right.
liming, fertilization, and things like that is done before they plant.
Right.
And so, and especially if they're liming, it ought to be in there no later than the latter part of February.
My suggestion would be we move this back so we can approve it on the first Monday in December for effective January 1st.
We don't routinely have a second meeting in December anyway.
Right.
Mariana, what is the status of the piece on 48? You seem to say somebody was farming it, but we don't have a lease on it?
Right, we don't have a lease on it. It is listed as John Taylor in the Farm Service Agency office, but when we reached out to John Taylor, he's actually the one.
Gateway has always handled that.
Yeah, and when we reached out to the Gateway, we did not receive any kind of agreement. It must have been a long time, many years ago, when the county acquired it.
It's in the county's name, though? Okay,
Yes.
so we need to add it to the list, of course, okay.
Yes.
We should take it over.
Right, all right. And the Duke Road, I think we determined it was so small, what was
Right.
farmable, but that it probably wasn't worth the effort to
Correct,
try to do that, okay?
correct.
I mean, the track is 20 acres, but it's only a small portion of it that could be farmed.
Correct.
Any other questions?
Just a couple. When we refer to paper in the agreement, I assume we mean papers. We're going to advertise it in all the local papers.
Yes.
You might want to clarify that and just make that plural. Is there anything in the lease agreement that speaks to an interruption in the end date? What would you do if, you've got a crop on it and then the property, for some reason, there's some other use determined for it to allow that that farmer to get off that property. I didn't see it in the agreement, maybe I just overlooked it.
It is in the lease
Okay.
agreement.
That's
It's
a good
something
point. I
that,
thought
Charlie
about
Tyson
that.
came up with several years ago.
Okay, but it is in the agreement? Okay,
Yes.
good. The other thing at Miracle Park, and I'm looking at the park from the road, are we talking about the land to the left of it or the land to the back of the park?
Back.
And how do you access that land?
And that was what we have looked at too. And sometimes depending on who makes the bid, has the access. We had looked at the line that is to the left when you come off of Joyner, that there would be an opportunity to approach that in that area. There's another area back
You
on,
have to cross the park, the actual park that's being utilized to get to that land.
I think it would actually be like on the property line.
Okay, then let's just say that we've got a lot of small kids out there playing on the equipment, and it's like it is now, very dusty and dry. Have we considered that?
that would be an issue. And then on 58, you've got another place where it kind of touches a little bit in the back.
Yeah.
That could be an entrance as
I
well.
think it's going to be a big issue if you've got heavy equipment on that land, bringing up all that dust, if you got a lot of kids out there.
And this was placed on this list because the county does own it. It could be farmland. So you would have to decide in what phase you are, how long that's going to be, and how it affects.
Yeah, I would have personally, I would have an issue with that piece of property being farmed while it was being utilized as a park adjacent.
And you're going to have that issue with that property on the left because that is farmland.
It is. I have no control over that.
Yeah, yeah.
Commissioner Outlaw, didn't we discuss one time at a park meeting the need for possibly getting it so it would be maintained and look better, or do I remember that wrong?
Well, that simply means cutting it down, cutting the grass. You would want to do that anyway.
But I think we were discussing, and we can look into this, see what the accesses are. but
Well,
we-
I've got 100 acres behind me, and I have no problem with farming that land. I love it. It's this open space. But when they get out there and get to working like it is now, and they're not working now, but it's very dusty and dry, and the wind's blowing in the wrong direction, then it does create a lot of dust, and that could create a lot of complaints from families that are utilizing that park. So there may be some alternative to maintain that property other than constantly being out there with equipment stirring up dust.
And so you owning it, then Nash County would be maintaining that property and cutting it versus when the farmer is maintaining.
How much property are we talking about at the end of the park that would be rentable?
I think it's like 18 and a half acres.
I'm just thinking, Wayne, if we can get $100 an acre for it, I mean, is the dust that big a issue? And I'm a farm boy, I've been raising dust all my life, that's just discussion.
I don't know, Dan. I mean, you'll have to see what happens when they actually get out there and get started. You know, if it's an issue, it's going to be an issue. It don't have to be an issue, but with one.
Well, you would think that most likely it's going to end up being leased by somebody that's leasing something right there at it because it's small nature.
Is $1,800 worth the potential negative feedback you're going to get from that? That's my question. So you got it at the back, you got it on the left. I mean,
Is in there allotment on that for row cropping?
No.
It's not?
What was your question, Mr. Wilson?
Allotment, row crop, row crops,
Not current.
corn, soybeans, tobacco, peanuts.
Right, she said.
Not
So it's nothing. Well, then plant it in grass.
perfect.
We still got to maintain
And you
it.
can still harvest that for cattle.
But to plant it in grass,
It'll stay green for quite a while. And you can harvest it while it's green too, and store it for livestock.
Sandy, what action are we taking today? We're taking.
So you're going to approve the procedures.
Right.
And as we make the changes to back it up. All right, and then you're looking at the properties that you want put into
We're going to
the
decide on which one of those to do. which
actual
ones not to
properties
do.
that you want
Okay,
to be included in the farm lease,
okay.
I got one more question.
and then the
What-
signage.
I have a question. Will these people that's leasing it now be notified
Yes.
some other way besides just put it in the
Yes.
paper?
Yes.
Okay.
They will be, once we have the approval, and we know what is being leased, they will be notified. We have a letter ready to go that they will be notified that it is now going to be part of county farm lease.
I have another question, and I'm too sure. The bids will have to be received by the date that we come up with.
Correct.
Is that going to be sealed bids and open? It won't be a public?
They
Bid
come
and
in our
process.
office with the sealed bid. They have joined us right there during the actual bid. We have a process for opening and recording, and they know right there that if they're stayed, who the number one bid, highest bid was.
Okay.
Sometimes
Any
you have
other-
3, sometimes you have 10, sometimes you have 1.
Sometimes you might not have any.
We haven't experienced that yet.
Any other questions?
Also, in the presentation, there's 2 spreadsheets. One's real long, has a lot of information, and the other one is more simplified, listed in the procedures. And the term end date on the 95, 97 properties is listed as December 2019.
It should be 2020.
Yes.
Yeah,
December 20.
yeah, she's talking about in the procedure
Oh, okay, gotcha,
on this side. Okay.
right there.
Well, the ones we move forward on, we talking about putting a for sale sign on. We need to be creative what we put on that for sale sign, because it's not for sale, particularly the 97 site. So let's make sure we,
Apparently, there was a sign there.
There was.
And it's no longer there.
I was told it was blew over and was laying there. Is it not even there?
Oh, when I drove by, there wasn't like a sign there, but I didn't actually get out.
We
so.
haven't seen,
Why would we put a for sale sign on any of it? I mean, we're trying to seek development.
Well, that's
I
what I'm
mean,
saying.
for sale sign means I could go out there and buy it if I wanted to.
Well,
And that's
what I'm
not the
saying.
intent.
We're gonna put a for sale sign on it, but we're gonna structure the sign so you'll know it's for industrial purpose.
industrial.
Needs to be.
Correct.
Yeah, we need to have a sign on it. All right. Do you need 2 motions, or you need, I think we probably need to do 2.
I would agree.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to approve the process. It's something the Board of Commissioners has asked for, and I'm glad to see it come up, so we'll properly maintain it. Is there a motion to approve the process?
Just a quick question before you vote. Do we intend to pull the Miracle Park property for further discussion and consideration?
That will be in the second
Second part,
motion.
okay.
Yes, sir. I'm just trying to get procedure
Okay.
approved first. Entertain a motion for approval of the procedure as presented with the correction shown.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Combs, second by Commissioner Wells. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? And just for clarity, the staff's recommendation is to put them all in except for the last one on 48. Is that what I understand? Oh, excuse me, Duke Road, not 48.
correct.
Duke Road, I'm sorry. So your recommendation is to do them all, but not the one at the landfill?
Correct.
Okay.
This one would be correct.
And of course, we can have a motion to approve them all. We can have a motion to approve them all but Miracle Park, or we can have a approval to approve them all but make Miracle Park subject to further discussion. Mr. Outlaw, any way you wish to structure it, maybe by the park committee or whichever you wanted, how you want to do it.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve them all except for the Miracle Park property, and that we have further discussion to determine possibly a better way to deal with that site.
And that means address it at a later date.
Yes.
Okay. Have a motion to approve all of them but the last one and the Miracle Park.
Second.
Have a second to that motion. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries as well. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is budget amendments. I'll call on Ms. Wood at this time.
Good morning.
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 I have two budget amendments that are being presented for your consideration. The first one is with Parks and Recreation. Part of it is a reappropriation of unspent local sponsorship donations received in fiscal year 2019, and then additional funds that have been collected in sponsorship funds in 2020 to be used for the fall sports, including soccer, t-ball, baseball, and softball. That's a total of $6,187. The second amendment is with the Health Department. This budget amendment is to budget additional state funding to enhance latent tuberculosis infection screening and treatment. It's $2,721. No local funds are being requested.
Okay. Any questions on the two budget amendments? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Leggett, second by Commissioner Richardson. Any questions on that motion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries. You have anything else, Ms.
No,
Wood?
that's
That's a
it.
short report for you, ma'am. Must be early in the year. Next item is item number 11, which is board appointments.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This morning, we have 3 appointments for the board to consider. The first being with the Tourism Development Authority, the TDA. Of course, we still have 1 appointment there that we need, a collector member. I've not received any word of
I would ask that be enrolled. You didn't come up with anybody, did you, Mr. Belfield?
Well, I just found out about this over the weekend. I got somebody in mind, but I need to confirm it.
Okay.
That they will agree with me.
Okay. And you
And I got
understand?
to explain to them
Right.
what the responsibility would be and all that. But I have it ready for the next meeting.
And you understand it's got to be, they've got to work or own a hotel?
Understand what?
That they must work for a hotel or be an owner in a hotel.
Yeah.
It's not a public member, it's a
Oh,
collector.
yes, that's right, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It says that on,
Right.
in the agenda.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
We'll roll that to next month.
The second one is for Braswell Memorial Library. We received a letter that was included in your packet that there's a member serving for Nash County that's unable to serve due to health reasons. That member is actually residing in Commissioner Belfield's district. I don't think there's a requirement that it be somebody from that district, but I just wanted to share that information with the board.
Any special requirements on it?
None at this point.
Does anyone have anybody for that or have any comments on it?
I would like to replace her. That was one that slipped up on me. I knew her. Lady is, 94 years old. Yeah. And she's not driving anymore, so but I mean, she's still active, but she's not driving. And so she doesn't bother to ask anybody to take her where.
She don't want to have the board meeting at her house, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're glad for her long-time service. I think you had a comment.
Yeah, I talked with her over the midweek.
All right.
But I have a couple of people that I like to contact. Haven't done it. I did start, but the person was not at home at the time, and I just have, but I have that ready at the next meeting. If the board okay that I can replace, she was one I recommended earlier. She was a former librarian in the school system, and she's just too old now to be active.
I think one thing we should always do, Mr. Belfield and other commissioners, is to look at our list of people, particularly the ones that have taken the Citizens Academy, and see if we have any members that have shown an interest in being on the library board. I would always like to utilize those people because we make that statement when they do the community, do that particular class with Ms. McGee. So you may want to just look and see if you got somebody there. And Mr. Lamb, you had a comment?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I serve on the library committee, Braswell Memorial Library, and over the last 3-4 years, we've been able to bring in and establish a county library system that is all associated, except for Cooley, are all affiliated with Braswell. That includes Whitaker's, Spring Hope, Bailey, and Middlesex libraries. They were all independent entities at one time. As we started bringing them into the county library system, there were no positions available for appointment from those individual ones. And I think currently there's somebody from Bailey on the library board, on the Braswell Library Board, but nobody from those other 3 municipalities. And the intent, the board is free to appoint anyone they want to, but the intent was to try to, as openings occurred, to try to bring in people from those outlying county libraries now. So, not county libraries, municipal libraries operated through Braswell. So I just wanted, for information purposes, let the board know that we would like to try, whether it's somebody from Whitaker's or Spring Hope or Middlesex, and I will confirm that the one.
Is it Davis?
Lady?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lady Cheryl Davis.
Yeah.
She's from Middlesex.
Middlesex. Okay. That was our wish, but certainly it's nothing binding. The person can be from anywhere, but we were trying to get representation from those smaller libraries throughout the county on Braswell's board.
Well, since we're bringing in the other libraries around the county, we need to ask for them to increase the board.
That was discussed, and that may be something the board wants to look at.
I think we ought to request it as a county board of commissioners to increase the board so we can get more people.
Yeah, the issue there was, we also have members appointed by Edgecombe and the city of Rocky Mount. So if we added county representatives, it would increase our share of the vote, unless we also increase Rocky Mount and Edgecombe's representation. So the feeling was, instead of doing that at the time and trying to expand the board, to wait for attrition, and as openings occurred, we would try to fill those positions.
You have several that are residents of Rocky Mount that currently serve?
Yes, many of our appointments are Rocky Mount residents. The Nash County, and I'll get y'all a list of all the.
I'll be glad to send out to the board
Yeah.
who's currently on the Board of Trustees for the library and where they're located,
yeah.
so you can see what our representation is across the county.
Would you also look at your applicants from the Citizens Academy?
Sure.
And see if you got a match with an outlying town that doesn't have representation now? Mr. Lamb, would you tell us again which 3 towns?
I know it's, according to Mr. Cone, the one, Ms. Davis is on the library board, and she lives in Middlesex. So we would want someone either Whitaker's, Spring Hope, and Bailey.
Well, I still think that we ought to request increase in the number of board members.
Well, I think we need to study it a little bit, Mr. Bill, prior to giving that instruction today to see what the board looks like, but I don't have any
I don't
idea.
mean we take action
Okay.
today, but I just
Right.
mean that we need to
Understood.
request an expansion of that
Yeah.
board.
On background, one of the reasons we didn't do that at the time was there was some resistance to bringing in the outlying libraries because the cost of operating them is more than what, under the Braswell model, is more than what it was previously and what they get. And so the state aid to county libraries, which we've designated Braswell as our library, and it's about $130,000 a year, is being used to subsidize the operations of those 4 libraries. So there was some resistance to incorporating this county library system into Braswell, but everyone in the end agreed to do it under the current size of the library. But I'll certainly bring that up. We got a meeting on Wednesday, and I'll ask them to look at an expansion of the board.
All right, got enough on that one right now?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Next.
And the last item is for the Community Advisory Council, the CAC. Currently, this board has selected Michelle McKnight, our Senior Services Director, to serve on that council. She is asking the board to consider replacing her with Miss Ashley Winstead. Ashley is our Senior Services Supervisor, and her daily responsibilities are to interact with the facilities as well as caregivers that use the facilities. And we just feel like this would be a better choice as far as not duplication of effort where somebody on staff is already spending a lot of their time.
Understood. Entertain a motion for approval of this request. Moved by Ms. Richardson. Second by Commissioner Wells. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign?
Thank you.
Motion carries as well. Thank you. Item 13 is next on the agenda, and, 12 is next on the agenda, and I'll call on Donna Teasley to make that presentation in Doris's absence.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Commissioners, and Mr. Chairman, Mr. Lamb, and Mr. Durham. Ms. Sumner is in Durham all of this week attending a business personal property assessment class, so I'm here on her behalf. The first item that we had was our regular monthly report. This is for your information. I'll be glad to entertain any questions if you have any.
Any questions on the tax report for the month? Seeing none. We'll move to item number 13.
Okay, and we did have one other item concerning any refunds, and we had no requests, so no action is required this month.
Okay, no refund request. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good to see you. We're now moving to item that was added to the agenda, which is item 13A, and it is concerning industrial/retail recruitment. I'll call on Ms. Phelps at this time to make her presentation, and I think you got it laying at your place. There were 2 documents there.
Good morning. I've
Good morning.
put a copy of the program and the redlined copy so you can actually see the changes. So the purpose of the Retail and Small Business Economic Development Incentive Grant is to aid in the recruitment of new business development within Nash County. This tool allows for broader recruitment of new small businesses to the area and provide incentive to existing businesses for expansion. The original program, which was adopted in August of 2018, one of the requirements limited the approval of projects to only rural towns with a population of less than 10,000 or any unincorporated area of the county. Due to the changes in the county's economic development structure, we're looking at recommending that we revise the program to include all of Nash County to provide an inclusive program. So we're asking that you approve that revision, and you'll see it on page 1 and under section 4 in the program application.
Any questions on what Ms. Phelps is asking us to do? In layman's terms, we had this potential grant that Mr. Belfield has asked us to do many times, and we have in place now. We've used it one time, I think, so
just
far,
one.
and got a potential another one. out in the Dorchester area. I guess that one's still pending, wait for construction to begin. But due to our change, and now we'll be doing recruitment also up in Rocky Mount, we felt like we needed to make this particular change to include the whole county, is basically what we're doing. Any questions?
I've got a question.
Sure.
Are there state or federal programs that are specifically targeted towards businesses looking at locating in small communities that we had targeted with this before?
There are not very many. This is why we came up with our own program to offer an incentive in our back pocket if we felt like we had a good project come before us. This program kind of spearheaded off of one that they did back in 2010 with the county that was tied to jobs, and so we changed it a little bit and revamped it last year to add a specific criteria that we wanted these projects to meet with level of investment and full-time and part-time jobs.
Other questions?
Can I ask a question that don't have anything to do with this?
You sure can.
Have we looked at the possibility of requesting this grant for the new business in Middlesex that had to relocate sewage lines that they didn't know was across that lot?
They have a copy of this, and so I have talked with them twice, so they understand the process.
Okay.
We just have not received a completed request from them.
Other comments, questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Have a motion to approve by Commissioner Combs. There's a second to that motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Belfield and Commissioner Leggett at the same time. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Phelps. That brings us down to 14, which is commissioner comments. Any commissioner have a comment they'd like to make at this time?
Yep.
I do.
I do.
I got a lady and a gentleman requesting. I'm gonna call on the lady first, Ms. Belfield, if that's okay, Ms. Wills?
I want to thank Ken for the article you put in the paper about the commissioners, and that we do love each other, although we may not always agree, and we do have an excellent set of commissioners. And thank you for your article.
Well deserved. You just messed up my chairman report, but that's good. Ms. Belfield?
Yes, my comments is going to be a challenge to us as a board in the county. And it's related to environment. And all of you know that Washington is broken. Nothing going to happen up there. The lobbyists control Washington. And moving toward controlling Raleigh too. I think we in this country need to take environmental protection serious. And the best way, I've thought about this for some time, counties matter, and counties, that's one of the themes of NACO, our National Association of Counties. And each county, there's a lot of things each county can do, and this does not mean that Nash County is not doing nothing. But I believe we can do more in helping protect our water streams, our water supply, and also the atmosphere and all of that. Examples, we have a lot of household chemicals and dispose of them where they could be disposed of, where they wouldn't affect our water supply. That's an example. Another example would be with our crop farming, which our farmers are doing, I think, a pretty good job as it relates to disposal of chemical containers and things of that nature. But I think we need to do more. There's still some out here. Some people just wherever they get through with any particular thing, even household chemicals, they just toss them in the trash can or just toss them out in the woods or forest somewhere. Those things can cause soil contamination, which can also cause our water supply to be contaminated. So I think we need to just sit down and say, what can we do more? And I believe in capitalism, but I also believe capitalism and protecting our environment can go hand in hand. I don't think we should go extreme, but it's an issue that if we don't take it serious, we're gonna have a lot of disasters from weather patterns. We're having them now. And just look at the temperature last week. And here we are in October, up there in the 90s. And so there's a cause of that happening. And we need to, as a county, begin to look at what we can do. And there's a small things. I'm not talking about no big things that's going to be big money spending, but there's small things. Educating the public relations of things we can do locally to protect our environment.
Thank you, Mr. Belfield. Other comments from other commissioners? Seeing none, I just had really two items. Ms. Wells spoke of one about the article that Ken wrote. I think, as Mr. Belfield said, I wish we could have our national leaders and our state leaders look at local boards, because I think generally most local boards in North Carolina, certainly not all of them, seem to get along very well, and we're very fortunate here that we work together. I think great. As Ms. Wells said, we don't always agree, but we do our business, and we'll come back the next time and start fresh again, which is just what you must do. But I appreciate, on behalf of the chairman, all the boards working together like we do. And Ken, again, thank you for your comments. I spoke to you Saturday about that as well, but we certainly appreciate it. Maybe we even challenge the other two reporters in the room to say something positive about the board. The other thing we need to do is, it's about time to have a joint meeting with the school board. We normally do that in October or November? November, okay. So
Early November.
what I wanted to do, if you can look at your calendars and let's get a couple of dates that maybe we could propose to the school board, that we could meet just to get them started. You know, they've got a new interim superintendent, and he may not know what we do. I'm sure somebody at staff would let him know, but of course, there are a lot of changes over there. So did we have a date in mind, Stacy, that would coincide with kind of what we've done in the past? And routinely, this is their meeting, if I'm not mistaken, and they have the venue, and we do ours in May at the community college?
Correct.
Okay. So really what we would need to do is just give them a couple of dates to work towards.
Yes, and I apologize, I don't have any to throw at you to consider this morning.
Well, you didn't know I was going to bring it up. You don't need to apologize, but I know we generally like to have a little bit of lead time.
I'll see the 5th or the 11th.
What's that, Mr. Lamb?
The 5th or the 11th. The 5th is a Tuesday.
5th is election day. That probably
Yeah, that's
would
right.
be a good
That
time.
was Veterans Day.
And you're right.
Mondays do work good for me, though. 18th.
18th?
18th is a commissioner day.
Afternoon meeting.
It's the after 1:30 meeting, yes. If we move any further back than that, we're going to be getting in Thanksgiving week.
Yep.
And you know that thing shows up on our tape of this meeting, don't you, sir? Any thoughts from any commissioner? Mr. Outlaw, any thoughts?
18th sounds good to me, if it's good for the school system and everybody else.
We generally do that at 6 thereabout. We are gonna propose dates to them. Could we propose 2 dates possible? We'll propose the 18th. And that could fall, no, it wouldn't fall on their regular meeting.
That's on a Thursday, isn't it?
That's on a Monday.
The 18th is on Monday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We scheduled to have a meeting at 1:30 on Monday.
We are.
November.
Yeah.
Why don't we look at the 18th and the 20th, maybe? 20th, or you rather not do it on Wednesday night?
I'd rather not.
You rather not, okay, understood.
Let's look at the 18th, the 19th, and the 21st.
21st, Wayne, we have an obligation that night at the farmer's market.
The 19th, the Upper Coast Plain Awards.
It is.
banquet.
How about the 14th, November 14th? That's Thursday.
Well, how about let Stacy talk to them and see what their thinking is, and let
You send it out to us.
come up with some dates,
We can do that.
and then come back and make some recommendations, then we can pick from that, because they're gonna have issues with any dates we have, so if you two can decide on 2 or 3 dates, then maybe we can come to some decision.
Are there any concerns about the 18th or the 19th?
18th works fine for me. Mr. Belfield had a problem with the 19th.
No,
Let's
you
use
got a
the
problem with
8th.
19th?
Yeah.
Tuesday? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll try to make the 18th our first choice, and then we'll get back to you if we need an alternative date.
All right. That good enough? All right, Mr. Lamb, we're on item 15, which is manager's report.
I have a short one today, just a reminder to the board that we have the steak and burger dinner for the Boys and Girls Club on October 17th at Rose Hill, I believe it is. So look forward to seeing you there. Just want to do a shout out to all the department heads and the sheriff for their help in the United Way campaign. Last year, we had a goal of 30% participation. This year, we've got a 35% participation goal, and we reached it this morning. We've had over 200 county employees pledge, and commissioners pledge funds to the United Way for the coming year, over $33,000. And I just want to thank the department heads and everyone who helped us in that campaign, particularly Annison, who led it up. And thanks to all of y'all.
Candace, have you talked to us about the 17th? And I don't remember it.
I don't think I've talked to you because you were with Z at some training, and I won't hear Friday.
Okay.
But everybody else.
Everybody else, yes, okay, that's fine.
You have a conflict?
Hmm?
You have a conflict?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I just didn't have it on my calendar.
Oh, yeah.
Sound like I should have.
Yeah, no.
What time is that?
7 to 9.
7 to 9, okay. All right. If there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session. At this time, it would be for economic development matters of attorney-client privilege and one personnel item, and I would expect one item to take action on in an open session after this meeting is over. We can certainly contact you if you need to move on. We'll call you as soon as we finish up, but we do have one item that we may have action on, we may not, I'm not sure. And it would be a potential economic development item that we may take some action on. Entertain a motion to go in closed session at this time.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Combs. Any question on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries.